This is my final assignment for ENVR 545. The picture behind me is treaty number 8, which is one of the key factors in my final research submission for this course. I will be referring to Treaty 8, in which the Mikisew Cree First Nation is a signatory to. I am a member of the Mikisew Cree First Nation, and I would be analyzing the treaty in the context of oil sands development and using a case study, which is a Teck proposed frontier oil sands mine project. Treaty number 8 was signed in 1899, and an important provision in the context of resource development is the ability to sustain and exercise the harvesting of resources, hunting, fishing, and trapping specifically as it's written in the treaty. Behind me is the oil sands lease map. As you can see, a lot of the different colors represent a lot of the leases that have been allocated to primarily oil sands companies for the extraction of oil sands. So right here is Fort McMurray. My community of Fort Chipewyan is downstream of the Athabasca River. A lot of the color or leases in the middle along the Athabasca River are mining projects, and a lot of the ones on the outside, more away from the river, are in situ projects, which are SAG, the steam assisted gravity drainage. The case study that I'll be looking at in the context of the Mikisew Cree's ability to exercise Aboriginal treaty rights is the Teck Frontier project, which is located here. Like many other mining projects in the region, the Teck Frontier mine project will be using a lot of fresh water from the Athabasca River. They will be mining out a large portion of land. Many of the readings that I've acquired and learned from your book in the context of sustainability in the 21st century is not only am I assessing or looking at, is the oil sands development sustainable in terms of ecological, economic, and social areas of sustainable development. And I do have some quotes in your book in terms of the Chapter 4 Ecological Imperatives. You discuss the health, well-being, and ultimate survival of our own species and linked to dependent upon the health and sustainability of ecological systems. When you look at ecological systems in this region, they are severely impacted, primarily because of the pace, and not only the pace of development because it's happening all at one time, but also the scale. It's very large, and the thresholds and environmental ecological limits are unknown at this time. So one important species to the Mikisew Cree that we harvest and basically exercise our treaty rights is the Ronald Lake bison herd, which I will refer to in another map regarding the Teck Frontier project. One important chapter I found in your book is regarding decision making. For example, when it comes to sustainable development, decision making cannot take place in isolation by any one sector of civil society, including governments. So this is important in the context of treaty rights issues, in that there's a legal requirement for consultation to occur. And the Charter, United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, and this is now recognized by Canada, allows for free, prior, informed consent. And what that means is that a lot of Indigenous people need to be actively involved in decision making when it comes to assessing impacts that are placed, basically impacts on them and their culture and their survival as a people. With the Teck Oil Sands Frontier proposed project, we are expecting this a decision to be made on this project next year, 2015. So it's at the environmental assessment stage right now. And when you think about treaty rights and you think about the cumulative impacts, we're questioning this one project, not only because we're looking at it in isolation, but there's a very important resource that is within the proposed area of the project, and that is wood bison. The Ronald Lake bison is situated within the Teck Frontier oil sands area. It's also an important drainage area, that there's a lot of water that comes off the Birch Mountains and flow into the Peace Athabasca Delta, which is a really rich biological heritage area that's actually recognized by UNESCO. So the bison that the Mikisew Cree are entitled to legally hunt is in the frontier area. You can see up here is the Wood Buffalo National Park. There are a lot of wood bison in the park. However, we're not legally entitled to hunting that bison. They are protected by federal law. However, there's a small herd of about 200 bison that is in this area, and if this project goes ahead, there's a possibility that a lot of the bison would be displaced, and one of the impacts of wildlife loss that is often referenced in your book is the loss of habitat. So basically, is it sustainable for this project to go ahead? One, from impacting Mikisew Cree, infringing on treaty rights, impacting wildlife such as wood bison, in addition to woodland caribou, which traditional knowledge indicates there's a lot of calving that happens in the Birch Mountain area. So there's a number of wildlife and basically traditional resources that the Mikisew Cree depend on and harvest to pass on knowledge, pass on culture, and it's also a constitutionally protected right. So the question about sustainable development for us is not just about the economic, social, and ecological pillars of sustainability, but we also look at the human dimension and the needs to maintain culture in the context of Indigenous people, not only in Canada but worldwide. So is the Frontier Project a sustainable project in allowing for the continuation of rights, culture, and basically how is it going to support the economic well-being of Canada as well, as the need for oil is often basically the trumping a lot of other decisions and a lot of what you refer to in a decision-making process. With that, that concludes my video assignment. Thank you very much. This is a buffalo arm being cut up by my mother, Hilda Lepine, 66 years old. This buffalo was harvested yesterday by a family friend, a hunter, who has a cabin near the Ronald Lake area. This buffalo is a young male and comes from the Ronald Lake bison herd. It was harvested just north of the Teck Frontier proposed mine area, and we will be using all of the meat from this arm for roasts, steaks, stews, and for all various types of cooking needs amongst my family.